Scott and Sam, the AM.
Good morning. Welcome to episode 15 of Scott and Sam in the AM. I have to say, out of everything we do on social media, Scott, I actually think doing the pod is my favorite. And 15 episodes in is pretty cool. I've tried to work on that, but until you retire, I think that's just going to be the case. So today is just one of those days that I feel like is as good as any to share with anyone who wants or is willing to listen, where we are just having one problem, for lack of better words, pop up after another. And it just so happens that a lot of these fall under the jurisdiction of yours truly by geographic circumstance. So we've been having a lot of conversations this afternoon. I thought no better opportunity. Let's just hop on the pod and continue these conversations so people can get an in-depth look into how we problem solve, how we talk to each other, how we deal with each other as partners, and how it pretty much always ends with me saying, yeah, Scott, you were right. So where we'll pick it up. All right, we'll pick it up on this. So we have an apartment building that we own that I used to manage, and it just got to be too much from a time sense managing it. But when I did manage it, it was a good cash flow. Like, we were making money from it every month, and I went and hired a third-party project manager. And since then, there's been a lot that has happened. We've lost a few different tenants for a few different reasons. Some, that we just couldn't control, and then, normal tenant stuff. And I have really enjoyed not getting the calls of a property manager. It's also about an hour away from where I live. But we haven't made any money from it since we hired the property manager. And I haven't honestly been spending any time on it. And today, Scott said, let's check in on that building today. So I sent Scott the owner statements for the login, and he dove into them. And turns out the thing is essentially bleeding money and not making money and has people not paying that I didn't even know about. The property manager we hired, he said that he was going to bring in his own superintendent that he had from another property to come live in the building. But he told me it's great. He gets subsidized rent. I don't remember if he said like disability or social services, something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, he's going to pay rent just like everyone else. Plus, he's going to do the superintendent stuff. So we have a full-time on-site person. I'm like, great, awesome. And that, he must have moved in, I don't know, not long, like 60 days ago. And Scott checks it today and goes, we haven't gotten a dime from that guy, right? I was like, no, I didn't know that. So he calls the property manager, and the property manager says, yeah, the guy actually told me he's not paying. And when I asked him to leave, he said, kiss my ass. So now, take me to court. So, okay, I didn't know that. And then we had, we checked the listings for available rentals, and they're not great. They don't show great. So kind of the age-old adage of if you want something done right, you just got to do it yourself.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. So, well, I look at this a multitude of different ways. For one, you had nothing but good things to say about this property manager for months. And, part of that is it was no longer on your plate. So now he's doing a good job. And this was the same thing with our accounting firm that Sam really pushed us to hire for our RV park. And you're doing a great job. These guys are awesome. We were getting almost $3,000 a month bills. And look, that's great. You don't have to deal with it anymore. But after looking into it, diving into it, now we pay them $1,000 a month. They're capped out. They're going to take advantage of where they can. They're feeding their families. They don't give a fuck about us. So, it's the same thing with this property manager. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy. You just can't let people go take care of your business. And, the fact of the matter is, like, if it's too much for you, then like we shouldn't be adding more to your plate. Like that's simple, because until we solve the problem with hiring this guy and we actually know he's doing a good job. Like, I could belabor the point and I could, get into, I just looked at it, how many units I manage here. And I'm not trying to like be like a tit for tat, but like it matters. Like there was a point where we were cash flowing, I want to say like 2, 3 plus your fee, like $3,500, $4,000 a month at one point, just from that one property.
Yeah, after debt service too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, cash flow. And it's like that's it. That's not nothing, right? So like just to say like I don't want to do it because I don't have time. Like I'm sorry, but we're not in the luxury place to do that. Like we're just not. And like that's why I do the things that we do here, because we're not in the place for us to just dish it. And I know what happens when you dish it off. We have a property in Shreveport. We don't make $1 off that property because it's being dished off. Like, but it's impossible for me to manage it. If it was in our backyard, I would still do it. It's impossible. Like there's really no way to do it. But that being said, it is what it is. I'm not saying you need to turn around and do it. I'm not saying you need to go, all right, you need to fire this guy, but something needs to happen. And if he doesn't turn it around, and the low-hanging fruit is the lease up. Like we have 3 vacant spots. Lease those up and we just saved $800 per lease. Like that's $800 back into our pockets every single month, right? Like that's not gonna, like, yes, the collecting rent and like the maintenance tickets and all that stuff. Like he's not running up maintenance bills, it doesn't seem, so that's good. But like aside from those things, the lease up is the low hanging fruit in my opinion. So I would at the very least take that over and just get it leased. And I had a conversation with him. I said, look, like if we lease it, like you're not taking your fee. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, as long as you do the paperwork. I'm like, sign a lease? Yeah, no problem. Like, not a problem at all. So that's what I would do. Like, I would just.
I think my reservation is that when we hired the property manager, 30 days after, I was so happy because relative to the amount, I don't think you can compare the stuff that you manage down there, other than the Burford deeds, to that, because it's your own personal portfolio, whereas I own a piece of that building, and it's just not the same. It's not the same incentive. It's not the same upside as you managing, your duplex or stuff like that, relative to the amount of money I'm making to time spent, I'm saying.
Yeah, but you just need to do a better job at managing your time on it. Like, that's it. Like, none of that should take more than a few hours every couple weeks. Like, and sometimes it takes a little bit more, but there's a point of where, like, every rental property, every investor knows this. When you get it to the point of stabilization, everything slows down. People stop reaching out as much. Like, and then you just have a few, like, someone reaches out, you have a guy for it. Like,
Yeah, I
and
was spending
and not to mention, like,
more than a
we
couple
were,
hours every few weeks.
I understand, but we were each taking something off of it, and you were also taking another fee on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I was
that,
taking a management fee is what he's talking about.
yeah. So that, like, there has to be, like, I mean, look, man, like, if you don't want to do it, fine, but if it doesn't make us any money anymore, then like that's not cool either. Like,
No, I understand. No, the answer is not and can never be, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm trying to talk out loud and figure out a solution to that, coupled with other issues that we have going on, to open up the door to people. We have more flips right now than we've ever had before. And in a lot of ways, I'm learning as I go from a project management standpoint. And a major issue that I have incurred is giving the same contractor 3 jobs at once all of which are six-figure renovation jobs, and just now being beholden to their time and financial constraints, and coupling that with going over budget on a couple projects, that just drastically hurts your cash flow. So as I'm going through this stuff, I'm balancing financial stress with time stress, with prioritizing where to spend my time. I'm still working long hours. Like, I was here this morning early. I'll be here for probably another hour and a half. But it's a matter of, I struggle with this all the time. I'm sure a lot of self-employed people do. I like having the partner I have in this sense is, and keep in mind, this podcast was my idea. I was like, we're having this conversation, we just put it on the podcast. I don't take Scott giving me direction as anything other than exactly what that is. And I use it in an extremely literal sense, because you get to a point, like, in terms of overwhelmness or stress, however you want to call it, sometimes it's nice to not think for yourself for a little while and just execute and just, see things through fruition, but with help getting there. And that doesn't mean I couldn't have done it or can't do it or whatever, but sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I just, okay, you know what? All right, let's do it that way. We disagree on a lot of stuff. Today, I just we have a house that's like moving pretty fast. I want to just get it done. And I agreed initially on the proposal with the contractor to leave the trim and the doors as they were. It was like a dark oak stain. But we painted the house like a cream color interior, and we laid a light color flooring, and Scott's like, dude, that looks terrible. And I'm like, no, it'll look good. And then, like, I hung up with him, and I'm like, yeah, it looks terrible. So now we got to spend an extra week, call it, plus another almost $3,000 to do it. But it's the right thing to do. If I didn't have him, if I didn't have that, I would have probably just done it the quick way. Now, would I have done it the quick way if I didn't have all these other things I'm telling you about stressing me out and pushing me and holding me back? No. But I have learned from experience, these are the times to ask for help, take the advice and the help, and don't take it personal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I understand, stress can make things harder, decisions and all that stuff, and you just want it to go away. But, there's a point in just compartmentalizing the stress is the most important thing. Like, all of the things that you just said are completely different issues, and none of them should be overlapping. Like, they shouldn't even be in the same conversation.
Well, they overlap my schedule.
I understand your on your brain. That's what I'm saying. Like compartmentalizing is a skill. Like that's a skill of, like, whatever's happening over here, the whole world is burning down over here, but like I have this one thing that I need to handle. That has nothing to do with this. That's not going to affect my judgment. And that's just literally what it is to do what we do. Is like, there's constant things that are stressing us out. I have things all the time. I get it. Like, whether it's financial or it's, things at home, or, luckily I think both of us don't have problems at home ever, really. So like, that's a huge weight off our shoulders. A lot of it is just business. Physically we're healthy. Like, there's a lot of boxes that are constantly checked, but, compartmentalizing the tasks throughout the day, I think will go a long way.
What do you feel like from the outside looking in, that you view in my action? It's hard because we work together for probably a combined 3 weeks a year. What do you see? I'm curious to see what you say to this, because I have some thoughts about it myself.
I have some thoughts about you myself. That's what
No,
you're
I
saying.
actually thought about myself, so I'm curious to hear your perspective. Um, what's your perspective of it when you look at it from a bird's eye view from across the country? But you're as incentivized as me to get all this stuff done on my plate across the finish line. And this is not to say that Scott doesn't have on his plate, but I'm saying for the sake of the conversation today, let's make it about me because that's where we're having the issues right now. What do you see from the outside looking in that you think I can adjust or should adjust or that would help make it all better?
Uh, I mean, I think one big part of it is you're always in the mindset of like, if I don't like to do it, I don't want to do it, and I'm really not gonna do it. And you'll find a way to get yourself out of doing it, and you want to focus on the things that you like to do. Like you have said this to me more than anybody in their fucking lives that says like, I just want to do what I want to do, and that's cool. But like, if you want to wear the hat that says I have all of these responsibilities, there's a laundry list of shit on there that is going to fall under the category if you don't want to do it, and dishing it off to a property manager is not the answer. Like, it's just not. And so that's one. And then two, just like a very simple like like thing today is like, you sent me the picture of that trim. I said it does not look good. The floors, the wall, it's all clashing. Don't just paint it white. Okay, I really think my gut says this. I'm telling you, just do it. I promise. I'm gonna go there. Dude, you're wasting your time. Like, you're wasting your fucking time. Like, the guy who says he has no time. And you're like, what do? You drove there. You went there. You walked there with Melanie. You look at it. You're right. It's no good. 26. It's going to be expensive. 2,600. Just ask the guy. How much is it going to cost? $2,600. Cool. Okay. Done. Paint it. Like, right there. Like, and I don't know, but I bet you there's other decisions in your day that can be eliminated because it's more fun to get out of the office and go to a project than it is to sit here. Like, I understand.
Well, my
I understand.
counteranswer to that is that I was doing that, and I feel like that created an issue, and now I need to be more present on the job sites.
You do, but you just don't need to haphazardly do it. Like, not like for one thing. Like, it's just like there's got to, like, I don't know what your schedule is. Like, I don't know. But like, there's got to be a schedule where it's like every couple days or like, whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, you got to make that decision for you. Like, you work differently than I do. So I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know how long it took you to drive there, but I could have saved you an hour. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah, more than that. But to give people perspective, when I reach out to Scott throughout my day, again, we don't work together often. When I see him throughout my day, guy is either on the phone with me, talking with Shane, who works with us, getting coffee, eating lunch, or at a job site. And his heart rate's always 40. And a lot of stuff that we do, like, I always resort, and I always have resorted to task-based busy work because it makes it, I think my subconscious says it gives me a sense of achievement, moving forward, progress. And I really struggle now as I have a little bit more success, but a lot more risk and a lot more responsibilities, for lack of better words. Balancing, delegating, feeling like you want to pull higher levers and make bigger decisions, but then at the same time, the granular need to do things like manage and micromanage, all the way down to I see you ordering window units for tenants. Like those entire scale of decisions, some of which are $100 and have little impact, some are $100,000 decisions. And I guess just what we signed up for is having to make all of them.
Like, nothing is too small for us to do. And that's across the board, man. Like, that's just like we're not better than any decision, like, and all of it adds up to be the sum whole of what you have done for the last year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Like everything matters. So like every dollar matters in every direction, you know, like every dollar you make, every dollar you spend, like it all matters. And like I know like I know how you work, and I know you don't think like that. Like that's not
Correct. I don't.
you do not want to
I'm
concern
not saying I
yourself.
disagree with it.
I know,
I'm not saying I disagree with it.
but you don't concern yourself with the small things because you always think in terms of the bigger picture. But like I look at things as like the small things is what creates the big picture. It always has. It like
I can think of an example. I don't know if he's thinking about this example, like our RV park. All I think about on it is how can we get the revenue to a certain gigantic number so that the NOI is $400,000 to $500,000 a year. And he is coming back on the other end saying, can we save $24,000 a year on this accounting bill? I didn't even think. I was just like, that's the cost of doing business. That like that's the way my brain has always operated. It's the deal maker in me, and the ready, fire, aim kind of mentality.
yeah, and I think that's what like for that's what is a problem with the apartment complex is like you can't just buy it and just hope it's all going to work out. Like it's a job. Like you signed up for the job. Like you were excited about it at one point. Now it's not worth your time. That's not true. Like you saying like the amount of money versus the amount of time, not true. Like it's being paid down every month. We own an equity percentage in that. The better it does, the more it's worth. Like change your perspective on what you're doing. Like you've been to the RV park one time. Like I like there is a lot of stuff going on there that I've never taken a dollar from there ever. Ever. And I've never said like it's not worth my time. It's because I'm looking at the bigger picture. Like that's everything, dude. Everything.
Do we call the property manager live on the pod and fire? And Roddy's got to do it after.
No, not live on the pod, but he needs to handle the mess that this man let a
Him, by the
property
way.
into our fucking property.
I called him. I go, man, I got my ass chewed out by Scott. He goes, me too.
Yeah. Well, when you go, I'm asking you questions that you don't know the answer to, and you go, "Do you want to call him?" Dude, you're lucky I was on the other side of that phone, dog. I would have slapped you in the fucking face for saying that shit.
I'm driving 65 miles.
I don't care, dude. I don't care. That's the one property you have to deal with. I have all these other bullshit things to deal with. I don't ask you about. Like, that's not fair, dude. Come on. That's not fair. And don't say I'm better than you at that. I just don't like that's also not the case.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that. That's fine. Do you feel like I feel like all right, so I'm rounding this out here. Do you feel like we bit off more do you feel like I bit off more than I can chew?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
With the renovations, yeah.
Well, no one coming to save me there or on any of this stuff. Seems like I need to get just a better basis of the simple things, especially, and understand that the small things and the big things all. To give people perspective, kind of inside look into the way I think every day and the way my brain operates, is I am constantly looking for us to get more and bigger and speed and scale. Like I'm talking about us buying, a $2 million project in a primo area, but then I'm complaining about lack of cash flow until this deal closes. It kind of feels, I think honestly, where a lot of that comes from is I never want to say no. I never want to wave the white flag or say like, I can't do that or anything like that. Maybe it's a pride or an ego thing, or maybe it's like a fear of feeling like I will hit a ceiling. But at the same time, I'm tired of this feeling of like ending up in a spot that does not feel relative to the amount of time that I'm putting in. And I think a lot of that, going off what you're saying and processing it myself, and I agree with pretty much everything he's saying. Can't think of anything I'm really going to disagree with. Is I feel like that would probably get alleviated, and I will not have this problem anymore where I keep crashing into a brick wall if I do more around what you're talking about and take more control of A to Z, not just R to Z, because I think A through Q are not important. That's actually exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge reason why a lot of times I'm pessimistic on doing things, because I have a feeling of how, like, I get overwhelmed by the actual task, not the excitement of like the project. Because I know that I know, and that's why like everything that we do, like I know it's all going to be a time commitment of some sort. Like, like don't even get me started with the laundromat. Like that's a whole nother fucking thing. Super exciting for a little while. Like it's been a year. And that's fine. It is what it is. But the thing doesn't cost us nothing every month to pay. So, and the answer is not just like, burn the bridges and turn everything around, sell things off and do this and do that. Like, it's not the answer. But, and the other reason, like, the other thing is you said, like, I walk around at 40 beats per minute. And the reason is, obviously that's not always the case, but the reason is most of the time is I have at least a general idea of where my risk and stress threshold is, and I stay below it. And what I mean by that is financial risk, and I stay below it. Like I know at what point of me not having a certain amount of money would stress me out to no end, and I will do everything in my fucking power to avoid that. Everything. And God willing, I haven't crossed that threshold, and I don't plan to. And like if your risk tolerance is different than mine, but like if you are crossing the threshold in your mind, that's a bad place to be. Like I'd rather you say no to something and just say I can't do it, and I'm not ashamed to say I can't do it, because I want to sleep well at night, and I do not want to be stressed, and I do not want it to alter the rest of my decision making, which is ultimately more important than just taking shots at things that you have the fear of missing out on.
I think those are all good points. I don't know if I was flush with cash versus not flush with cash, if that would, well, hear my point. If that would, I want to stay on the point of things like the property manager, the project management, which the issues are stemming from a lack of attention to detail. I don't know how that relates to financial stress. Maybe I'm not seeing it consciously. I relate it to poor planning and prioritization.
It's pretty hard to have attention to detail if you're stressed about money, because you're kind of walking around in an elevated state.
Because that is your attention.
Your attention is being drawn to that. Like,
yeah, okay.
that's definitely part of it. I think part of it is also just how you operate. Like, I don't think that's like, but there's a lot of good in that. Like there is, like, I'm not going to sit here and say there's not. Like you definitely push us to get to next levels. Like you're very good at getting things done. Like all of these things, like if I say like, dude, we need to do this, like pretty much you always knock it out. Like that's cool. But you're in a different role now. Like you're wearing a different hat.
For sure.
So you need to figure out what that looks like for you and adjust to it, like, and all I can say is, for the most part, it's all small stuff. Like like if there was like a large lever that you could pull consciously, everyone would be pulling it. Like that's not the name of this game. There is nothing that's in front of you that's be like, oh, I just need to do that every day. And like I've had these thoughts in my head, like, what could I be doing more of every day? And there obviously are things, but like in the world that we're in and like the way that our business is shaped, all of these things are corresponding to their end result. And, the only way I could say like doing one thing and being the best at that thing is like you really need to go uh, work for a company that handles everything else. Like there's no other way to do that. Like there's no other way to be a small entrepreneur and just get away with doing the thing that you're really good at. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I'm not saying it's always going to be the case, but
For
you
now, it
know,
is for sure.
for now it is. For now, it definitely is.
Yeah, I think I talk to other people. I listen to other people. I see other people, especially through social media, and a lot of the times I'm very proud of the amount of activity we do. I get a lot of feedback from people like, man, you guys do a lot. You guys have done a lot in a short amount of time. And
Can I say one thing before you keep going?
yeah, yeah.
Be careful. Be careful listening to that. And what I mean by that is be careful listening to other people, good or bad. Both are equally as dangerous of hearing other people say, you're killing it, you're doing this, you're doing that, or you suck, you're the worst at this, blah, blah, blah. Both things should really be just avoided at all costs because both of them will go to your head. And I don't think it's good to be like, I'm on the right path because I'm getting a lot of feedback from people I trust. There's only probably a few people in your life that really know what's going on. I think I'm one of them. And it's just like, be careful. The outset is dangerous to listen to that, dude. Super dangerous.
Yeah, I guess my point I was going there with that was like I think I subconsciously am afraid of not being busy because I feel like I'll never uh, rise above whatever point of my life that I'm at that point. But to continue to stay busy and to continue to do higher risk, higher reward type stuff, it requires more time, more money, creating more time stress, more financial stress, more decision making stress, priority stress that I haven't done before. And to give people an inside look, we have had this conversation, 25 times over the last 15 years. The conversations just delve differently, have different size numbers and different tasks and requirements and, things like that.
I mean, I also think it's important not to look too deeply into this shit. Like that's it. We can spin ourselves in circles on a regular basis. But
Yeah, no. I mean, to give you guys an idea, like I want to do this podcast because I'm asking the opinion of the person who I feel like can genuinely help me the most. No, if I have an issue with my relationship or something like that, I will go to my wife. If I have an issue with, family or whatever, I will go to my parents. If I have an issue with work or work-related stress or finance or anything like that, I will go to Scott. And I would say, even if maybe I can't tell, I don't know until people listen to it if they understand, but I have my answer, and I don't always have a great way of putting it into words, but the way I have processed this conversation is I've gotten what I want out of it, which is a different perspective on how to view what I need to do in order to move forward, be less stressed, be less time and financially stressed, and continue to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And my synopsis of it is breaking down the tasks that I have to do from 0 to 100 and just tracking them through execution. And to be honest, like now that I'm talking about it out loud, I have not been doing that. I've never really done that. But I've also never really been in roles that I've had to do that. Like my background's in sales. And then, like if Scott and I are doing something as we're, building our company the last few years, he's doing more of the calculated work where I'm the one, doing the more volume work. And we're at a point now, or at least I'm at a point in my roles and duties to our business and my partner and me, that the bull in the china shop will get you so far. And it will get you really far, and it will keep getting you further than you were. But it doesn't mean anything if you are not doing it in a good way. In a good way for yourself, a good way for those people around you, a good way of stress, a good way financially. I also have a really hard time. No, I shouldn't say hard time. I need to get over it right away. It's ridiculous. I should probably start being a little bit more, I don't want to say the word mean, that's not right, but like assertive to the people that we pay, from property managers all the way to contractors and everyone in between. Like my inherent personality trait is to like almost suck up or make friends with these guys. I don't know why, but I guess subconsciously it's because I think that they'll do better work for us and treat us better, because that is what I would do. I'm a very personality type. I take someone at face value the moment I shake their hand until they give me a reason not to. And you can't do that. I got to get better at that.
Yeah, I think it's important to, let someone know when you're dissatisfied. Like, and there's ways to do it without yelling at them, but like, and,
We had a flip last summer, but one instance I'm thinking about, we had a flip last summer, and the contractor told me he was close. He was probably like 85% done. And he told me he really needed the money. He promised he would finish it and do a good job, but he needed me to pay him the rest of the money that we owed him on the balance for what we agreed to pay him up front. And I did. And like a week and a half later, he didn't show up for a few days, and there was a bunch of little stuff that had to be done. And Scott and I are having a conversation about this just like this. The comment section on this is going to be crazy. Like, Scott, this guy's a fucking idiot. But he was like, I was like, well, I already paid him. Like, and he's like, why did you pay him? Like, you can't pay these guys, And at the time, I couldn't have fathomed looking this guy in the eye when he's practically pleading with me for more money and saying no. But that's what you have to do. That's what I have to do.
all I ask is, that's a great example and a learning lesson. Just don't let it happen again. That's it. Like, you only could play the card, so I'm learning as I go. Like, no, like you've been through enough of these to the point where now. Like, there's no like, respectfully these guys, but it's fine. As long as we don't keep making the same mistakes, it's all good. We're gonna make a ton of mistakes,
Anything else you want to add? I've done most of the talking.
No, not about that. I think that's. What else is going on in your life that you want to talk about? Anything good?
Not a lot of good stuff happened today, to be totally honest with you. It was rainy and cloudy all day. Had a buyer back out of a deal at the last minute. Just feels like I have a lot going on. Feels like physically like I have a lot going on. Like, to give people perspective, I'm a pretty clean, like minimalist type guy. Like, my car's always pretty clean. Like, I'm looking around my office right now. There's a lot of fucking papers all over the place, wires all over the place and stuff. I kind of just need like a reset, I think, and then sit down with a notepad and pen and start
Yeah.
writing out a bunch of stuff I got to do.
Yeah. That's dude. You should do that weekly, if not more than that. But like, you know, I've slipped on that a lot. But like, anytime I'm overwhelmed, dude, I sit down and just start writing. Whether it's like I got stuff to do or just like I want to get stuff off my mind and like I want to know like what I have that's good, the things I need to tackle that might not be so good. And then it's just like when you finish that and you get it out of your head and then you clean up your office like you're saying, there's nothing worse than have a messy office, messy car, or messy home. Like there's nothing worse than those things. And I think it's so hard to be present and all that stuff. And also, you need to, and I hope you did it already, but I'm assuming you didn't. You need to set up your fucking cold plunge again, pal. I'm telling
No, I
you,
did not.
yeah, and that's what you need to do. And it should be fun. And it should be fun. There sh-
You make it sound so fun.
it is fun,
And it
dude.
should be fun. Fun. Period.
Yeah, putting it together.
For sure.
Like I got in that thing last night. Like I came home a little early. I came home at like 5 because I was at a property, but I worked till 6:30 because Susie stays till as late as I need her on Mondays. And right before I went to go hang out with Reese, I know he has 30 minutes before bed. I went down there, got in the cold plunge, no timer, just closed my eyes, rested, dunked my head, 45 degrees, hands were fucking cold, and I got upstairs, man. I just felt like a new guy. Like I was just like, you know what? All good,
Don't let
baby.
me put the kid to bed. I'm going out for a smoke.
That's right.
I
No, it's so good though. Especially after work, dude. Mornings I get it, but after work, like there's nothing better than like literally wiping the day away. That's what it feels like. It feels like you wiped every call that Sam made to you away until I wake up the next morning.
I think this is probably my favorite podcast that we've done. Number 15. I I hope people can relate this in some way to their personal and or work lives. I'm a pretty vulnerable. I don't, there's not much outside of like my family. I'm pretty cool with talking about almost anything. Um, and I don't mind open up my issues to people who are willing to hear it. But the real reason why I want to have this conversation is because I want to obviously feel better about it and get some direction from those who I value the direction from, i.e., Scott, but also show you the value of partner, friend, confidant, whatever you want to call it. Because all these faults that I'm putting out onto paper, which maybe, kudos to me for doing it. But I'm just like any other person where I have 90% faults that come along with 10% of intangible skill, whatever you want to call it. And based off your personality, based off my research and psychological screenings through my adolescence, a lot of these faults come as just a package deal with my strengths. And it kind of just is what it is. I'm done. I'm not changing for nobody. I'm done trying. I used to always be like, well, maybe I could change. I have found, I'm old enough now to realize, I am happiest and I'm at my best when I lean into who I am. At the same time, you have to be conscious of that 90% so that your 10% can be that much better. The faults will always outweigh your strengths, but the strength is so much more powerful than the faults. So be aware as I talk about these things. Like, I don't give a damn about talking about my faults because it will make my strength that much better. And I think the reason why Scott and I haven't given each other the finger yet after 15 years of friendship and 3 years of partnership is our strengths and faults are so yin and yang. And we have a very unspoken understanding or relationship, however you want to call it. there's a lot of stuff that if I'm going through, I would never ask his opinion or relationship on. And there's so much stuff that he's the first person I would ask his opinion on, and vice versa, right? I I think
What are the things you don't tell me? Because I feel like there can't be much.
I don't have a lot. Like I don't have a lot other, like I don't know. Like I talk to my wife about a lot of stuff, but there's also a lot of stuff I don't talk to my wife about. Like you and your wife had the relationship. Like if Scott and I have a work conversation, he and me and his wife are very good friends, and we talk all the time without Scott, like FaceTiming and joking and stuff. And she almost always brings up like, so I heard you guys were talking about. I'm like, you heard about that? Where it's like I never would, like my wife and I just don't really talk about that. Like when I get home, like my wife and I just want to talk about like our kids and us and stuff. But
Because my wife is like you, well, she will bring those things out of me. Like she likes to like, how was work? What's going on? How's this? How's that? Like
yeah,
she'll ask questions, like. But your wife is more like me, where I doubt she pries.
no, not at all,
Exactly.
not
So
at all.
I understand. I understand.
Work was great. That's awesome. Can you change this diaper?
Yeah.
um, but my point is, I'm more than happy to put this stuff out there and coincide a needed conversation with making some hopefully good content that helps other people, because I want you to see, while we are in real time going through a lot of stress, everything you hear for the last 48 minutes. Maybe I'm crazy to keep saying this. I would continue to sign up for this any day of the week, 12 months ago, 24 months ago, 36 months ago. It's all more bigger stuff than we have worked on in the past, with more scale, with more intensity. And what comes along with it, and I have kind of realized that over this conversation, is just that those baseline responsibilities that you do when you start your business carry with you no matter, maybe not when you're really big, but we're not really big. And just because we put some more time into it and have bigger stuff going on, you still got to do all those baseline stuff. So this has been, I know if you don't know me personally, you're getting a firsthand look into my brain processing and my mouth not being able to keep up with it. But this has been really helpful for me.
I'm glad to hear that. And if you're someone that's like me in my shoes, the important things to realize with a partnership or your wife or anything like that is no one is perfect, neither are you, and having empathy for that person is probably one of the most important things that you can do. And I think a lot of people in, partnerships, I'm sure, relationships, I know for a fact is people lose that empathy in the other person, and then they get comfortable around them, and then they project a certain image onto that person, and then they treat them accordingly. Like if you think about it, and like, this is across the board for everybody, but you can be conscious about it, is you will talk to your wife or your husband differently than you did when you guys first met. And that's just how it goes.
I talk differently when I'm not shaking.
Right, true. But the point is, like, try and think about that person as they are still the same person that when you first started and you were all excited about whatever venture that you were on, because that is the case. Like, just because you're comfortable now doesn't give you the right to treat somebody worse, even though I'm sure you have, as I have, as we all have. But, you know, especially when people do things that you don't like, you know, it's easy to go off on them, but, it's also very important to realize, like, see all the good stuff too. That's all I can say.
And I'm really I feel like I've brought some of this out of you over the last couple of years, but I'm like I do this in my personal relationship more than anywhere else, but I do this in my business relationship too. I find that you have such a healthier, genuine relationship by just talking about, maybe I talk about too much stuff, but issues that as they arise, so that they never become bigger issues. And I have talked to other people about this and consume content around this and heard stories about this stuff. It's like so many things that become large issues started as a non-small issue, but it wasn't addressed and it wasn't, like if I can get on here for the last hour and get raw, genuine feedback from a guy who I essentially share half of everything I own with, why can't you cross the bridge of whatever thing is bothering you in your work life or your personal life or whatever? It's probably not that big of a deal. All this stuff that I'm talking about for the last hour is not a big deal. Like in the grand scheme of life, I could go and clean up my office and get in the cold plunge and put together a list, and in 10 days from now, everything is incredible because of the actions that I'm going to have to take to get there. But those actions and all those steps start with the conversation and the willingness to take feedback, the willingness to give feedback, the willingness to say, I agree with you or I disagree with you. It makes, I feel like I have a very, because of that, a very healthy board of relationships. I don't have a million friends or a million relationships, but the ones I do, I feel like are very good and genuine because of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. You've definitely helped me, talk about things when things are issue. That was, same thing in my relationship, same. I've talked about things more. Like now I'm in therapy. That helps me get things off my chest. I'm just inherently a person that likes to, I keep things in. I don't like to do it, but I do. Like I just keep things in, and I handle it, internally in a lot of cases. But it's definitely helped me to talk about, get things off my chest and just have conversations. And I do that with my wife now a lot more than I used to. Just, hey, I just want to talk about something. You don't need to talk. You don't need to tell me,
You
respond or
don't
anything
need
like
to
that.
talk.
You don't need to talk back, and I don't need to
I'm
hear.
going to do all the talking and then I'm
Pre-
going to watch television.
pretty much, pretty much, Well, she always says, I don't need to say anything. I don't need to say anything. And then I'll like start talking, and then she'll start like responding, and I'm like, honey.
And I also like I would hope that by listening to this you can relate and be like, I'm a lot like Scott or I'm a lot like Sam or whatever. I couldn't imagine if there was two of us and not the other. I wonder how that would work. I don't know. Like
It wouldn't
my
work.
my
We
guys
crash
would
and
probably,
burn mad fast.
me and clone Sam would probably have a Ferrari with just the front grille smashed out and behind on payments. And you know, Scott would be clenching a fist somewhere underneath a cold plunge. But I try to really look at yourself in the mirror, look at your track record, have a realistic conversation with yourself, and be like, this is what I'm really good at. Not necessarily what you enjoy, but what you're really good at. And here's what I'm not. And if I have people in my life, doesn't matter if they're your business partner, your wife, even if they're just your friends. Like I have so many friends who I go to, friends who do nothing in the business world of any tangibility at all, but they're excellent in other work. They're very witty. People love them. They can walk into a bar, make a friend, and and if I struggle in something like that, I will pull that from them. Pull it from whoever you see has that strength, and pull things from them. I'm pulling this conversation from Scott, not because I have nowhere else to go, because he's the best person I know at this, managing a heavy workload with a high rate of execution and what seems like from the outside a moderate level of stress.
Sure. You got to work on it, We talked about that in another podcast about how I've been working on my stress. Sometimes like even if I don't feel stressed,
No, I don't feel stressed. I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like sometimes even if I don't feel that way, I might still be, and I'm just like, maybe I'm like a little less talkative. I'm not as like chipper, blah blah blah. Like those things, you're still stressed, like that. Like you want to try to eliminate as much as that as you possibly can, and I don't know a better way to do it other than getting off your phone, went as much as you possibly can, reading, writing, meditating, getting in the cold water, and working out. I don't think there's really anything else. It kind of seems to me like something physical will take your mind out of the place that it's in right now, and it will change your state. Like that's like a, Tony Robbins thing, but like, you know, changing your state is like the number one thing that I do and I try to do on a regular basis, period.
This dude was reading these Tony Robbins books and what's Ferriss's first name? Tim Ferriss, all these guys like that at an age where like no one else was reading this stuff. This is like 2014, 15, 16, 21, 22, 23 years old. This kid was reading this. Everyone else is concerned about DraftKings, the bar, hot chicks, food, da-da-da. And now I see this layer of principles, whatever you want to call it, that he has. That now as you get into our age, where people have real stressors and their dreams are crushed and real financial, you have a very good underlying perspective on how to deal with them. And I think a lot of that came from that time.
100%. Yeah, 100%. That stuff to me just, it made me happy. Like there was no like, I'm planning for the future. I'm like, I guess, I mean, maybe there was a little bit like, I want to be a better person, but like, I don't know, dude. That stuff just, I love that. Like, and I do not really consume it anymore. Like, I kind of got what I needed from it. Now, I guess I still meditate and I still like, I'll read books and stuff like that. I'm like, but like, there was a self-help period where like, I don't, like, I'm not attracted to it anymore. Like, I feel like a lot of it says a lot of the same stuff. And now, I prefer like stories and like, biographies and stuff like that. Like, I feel like those are more relatable in my life now. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever you're doing in your life, if you haven't dove into those things, like Wayne Dyer, man, like he passed away, but like listening to him, just these guys have just like kind of profound wisdom on life, and looking back on people who, it's so easy to look at like an older person and be like, oh, you're old. Like, yeah, but like inside, they're still the same guy that you like, that you are, right? Like inside, they might not look the same, but they're young people inside. Like if you ever sit down and like listen to an old person talk, like, and then you hear them, and then there's so many things that are so cliche that you're like, yeah, I know money won't make me happy. Like I know that, like I know I need to spend more time with my family. I know life is short. No, it's because it is. Like that is actually the case. And like if you don't take it seriously, then it's like, you'll learn, like you'll look back and learn. Like when you get old enough, you're like, I wish I thought about that. I wish I took that more seriously. And like, and then when you kind of listen to a lot of them talk, they're all saying the same stuff. All the wisest people are kind of saying the same stuff. And then you kind of like, all right, like at least now I have a little bit of like a North Star, like I know like where I want to point my ship every day. And like whatever comes along the way is going to be my own path. But like, I agree, dude. Like that is, you
And
know,
and don't feel like you got to like have $1 billion or like a successful bit. Like I think a lot of the perspective change comes from outside responsibility. Especially you get married, you start having children, having a family, and you stop thinking about things in a selfish way, for lack of better words, anymore. And there's so much more incentive to do good and to do the right thing and to live your life the right way. Now you pull all those principles from all that stuff you consumed the day.
yeah, dude. I think about it even with having my son now. He's only 9 months old, and we're talking about where we want to live next and what, like the type of house and the type of area, and like the further I get into it as like a older, more mature person, like yes, I want to live in a nice home. Yes, I want to be in a nice area, but like I also just want to have like a paid off home in like a very nice area where a lot of people are like community based. Like I don't want to be separated from my neighbors and not know who they are. Like there's a lot of things that I didn't want as a kid, as like in my 20s. I wanted to be, you know, very wealthy and all these things. And I do want to be wealthy, but like I want to have a paid off home. I want to feel stable at all times. Like, because life is so unstable, dude. Like, if you create the turbulence in your own life and then life hits you in the face with a baseball bat in terms of some health issue or a family member or something that you can't control at all, like, it's like, I think that's when, people crash and burn, like it, unfortunately. So it's like, if I can take some like risk out of the equation, that's kind of where I want to spend my next like 10 years focusing on, like, personally.
Well, if that wasn't raw for all you people at home, I don't know what is. I like that. That was episode 15. Thank you so much for everyone who's listening. We're going to keep doing this next week. Next week, we're going to talk about all Scott's issues. It's going to take a hell of a lot longer than an hour. But thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week for episode 16.
I want to trade my Porsche, and I want to get something a little better with AC. It's so freaking hot down here, dude. I can't even drive it. So,
like Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, these are the new hats we got. Shout out Shane, dog. Anyways,
I think we should get Shane on an episode.
That'd be fun. Yeah, let him talk about the old days, the Hawaiian days.
I would also be curious to hear just perspective, what it's like working with us.
All right.
Scott and Sam, the AM. Scott and Sam, the AM. Yeah, we giving you the real estate investors, showing you the deal. Two best friends on the grind every single day. Tune in every Wednesday. We got something to say. Scott and Sam, the AM. Yeah, we giving you the real estate investors, showing you the deal. Two best